Welcome to Life with Long COVID with me, Paul Clark. It's estimated that around 400 million people are suffering from the effects of what is now called Long COVID globally. There are probably many more people suffering but not able to articulate what is wrong with them. This podcast was started for one reason and one reason only: that those suffering will not feel like they're on their own. Hello and welcome to this latest episode of Life with Long COVID. How are you doing? How is your week going? If you're anything like me, December has rushed up upon us very quickly. I cannot believe we're kind of in Advent, in a counting down to Christmas stage already. And it'd be interesting to see how I cope with Christmas this year. I've been pretty exhausted in previous years. I suspect this won't be much different, but you know, who knows? After the last couple of years, maybe I've got better at pacing and will be able to cope with the whole thing better than I did before. Who knows? Been an interesting week for me this week. I actually had some really good friends come and visit, and I haven't seen them for probably at least a year, maybe a year and a half. They are really good friends. They're lovely friends. They're kind of friends who go way back, and you don't need to kind of stand on ceremony. They popped round for a coffee, and we kind of picked up where we left off a year and a half ago. Those kind of friends, you don't... It's great. There's no pretense. They know that I'm not well. They know the journey that I've been on. And, I don't have to go overly explaining things. It was great. But in their visit, I realised something. Because I always kind of gear myself up to thinking, well, when they come round, how am I going to say that I am? Because people inevitably ask, how you're doing? And, if I'm being polite, then it's the usual, well, nothing's changed, but I've learned to cope with it type thing. But with these particular friends, I can be brutally honest because they're good friends and they really want to know how I'm doing. And whilst they were here, or I say here in my house, and we were talking about this, I realised that actually I have made some progress since I last saw them. But in doing so, that creates a bit of tension. What do I mean by that? Well, while they were with me and we were having a cup of coffee, I realised that probably a year and a half ago when I last saw them, I'd have found it difficult to entertain people in the house because it spiked kind of anxiety in me. And I thought, well, if I agree to say, well, come round and see me, however desperate I want to see people, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through with it on the day because I don't know how much energy I'm going to have and how I'm going to feel. But actually, this was arranged easily and that didn't cross my mind once that I wouldn't be well enough. And actually on the day I was a bit tired, but it was okay. I could cope with it. And I think that marks a shift. I've clearly got better at managing my pacing, better at knowing myself, and I think perhaps I might have a little bit more energy than I did before. And there's other little things I noticed in my conversation with them as well, and they were saying, well, how are you doing? And I was explaining that I've been recording these podcast episodes. I'd been writing about long COVID. In another guide, I also write about spiritual matters as well, about faith matters. And, I've been quite busy writing and recording. And I realised in explaining this to these lovely friends that actually my output, the things that I'm doing during the day, has increased over the last year and a half. And that's partly been because I've managed to pace, but it's also partly because I think there's been some kind of improvement. And my instant reaction to this, once they're gone, is to think, yeah, do you know what? I think there's been a bit of an improvement. But who do I share that with? Like instantly, I shared it obviously with my wife Rachel when she got home. and because I can, and she knows the score. But if I was to share that with anybody else, it's a bit of an emotional tightrope. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. And if you've got chronic illness, you'll know that, because as soon as you mention to anybody else that don't know you implicitly, and you say, do you know what? I think I've made an improvement. I think I'm a little bit better. Immediately, they hear he's getting better. He's nearly better. He's turned a corner. He'll be okay soon. That's what they get from that. When in actual fact, chronic illness isn't like that. It's not linear. You don't progress, straightforward, straight lines. You don't go from being sick to get better. You chaotically go better, then worse, then better, then worse throughout your time. And even if there has been a general improvement, which I think there has, it doesn't mean that that's going to continue, or that I don't have chronic fatigue, because I really do, that I don't have struggle to walk down the road sometimes, that I can't go out for too long without getting absolutely wiped out, and all those symptoms that we've already kind of delved into, they're still there, and they may be, my energy may be marginally better, but it's nowhere near what it would be for what I would quote unquote a normal person. And some days are worse and some days are better. So whilst it's heartening that I'm getting better, nobody really, apart from Rachel and maybe these good friends of mine, would understand what that actually means. And it doesn't mean that, I've managed to turn the corner and that things are going to be great from now on. So I have to be careful about who I tell that to. And I feel kind of reserved, because even though I want to shout it out, I want to say, do you know what? I've seen a little improvement over the last 2 years. I can't really, because people jump on all kinds of assumption. And it kind of brings me to this big theme of today, I guess, which is that kind of myth of getting back to normal. People will say, when are you going to get back to your old self? And I honestly don't think I ever will. Because, well, to start with, I've learnt so much about this illness, about pacing myself. It's changed my life. Literally, it's changed my life. I'm not just talking about the fact that I've had to stop work, that I'm living a life of benefits, which I don't want to be, that I can't do some of the things I've done before, some of the relationships with friends and family I had before I haven't got anymore. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about the fact that it's changed fundamentally me as a person and the way I view life. I don't strive for the next thing anymore. I don't rush around. I'm driven. I'm passionate about my writing. I'm passionate about this recording. I'm passionate about spreading awareness of long COVID. But, he says, pausing because of a bit of a foggy brain morning, although I'm passionate about those things, I'm definitely not the person I was before. And I don't rush around all day. I still have to have lots of rest. So it's changed my life. This is normal for me now. Like, this is the new normal. I don't particularly want to go back to rushing. Yes, I would like to get better. Yes, I would like to have more energy. I would love to be able to walk the dogs longer without feeling like I'm going to collapse. I would love to go for a day out without needing a wheelchair or a scooter. But you know what? What is normal? Like, what is even normal anymore? This is normal for me. It's normal for me at the moment. And although I want to improve, I don't think about it every minute of the day. So when people say, oh, you're getting better, you're getting back to normal, I always think, well, I don't know if I am. I don't know even if I want to, in some respects. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but it certainly makes sense in my head. But what it does do, it makes these small improvements that we sometimes get, even if they're transitory, even if they only last a week, because that happens too. You get better for a week, and then, or even for a month, and then it'll go downhill again. it means even these improvements that we get is quite a lonely path. Like if I didn't have Rachel to share these things with, I don't know who I would be able to share them with. And it's a lonely path. Like if you can't share your successes for fear that they'll be misconstrued, or because you don't have the energy to go and explain exactly how that affects you and exactly how it doesn't. If you can't share that, and if you can't also share when you're feeling desperately ill because people might roll their eyes and think, oh, here he goes again, we know you're ill, don't need to go on about it, it makes the whole thing a lonely path. And that's what chronic illness is. It's a desperately lonely path. And you feel like you live in a world where the only people that understands are you, and you listening, because I'm sure you understand what chronic illness is like, or any significant others. And I know some people don't have a Rachel, they don't have a partner who understands, and that must be so difficult. It must be incredibly, even more lonely than it is already. I feel a bit lonely with it, and I've got someone I could share that with and somebody who understands. So I can't imagine what it feels like to you if you've got nobody. It's a lonely road. And it's a lonely path because you can't celebrate successes, let alone the more difficult parts of our illness. So I'm going to continue, and hopefully I'll continue to recover. I hope so. I hope I continue to recover, but it's not going to affect my day to day. I'm glad that I clearly have either manage my illness better or have a bit more energy than I did before. I'm really pleased about that. But I'm just going to quietly get on with it. And I'm going to take each day as it comes, and I'm going to do the things that I can do in that day. And who knows, maybe I'll look back in another year and a half time and think, yeah, actually, I've got a little bit more energy than I did before. And I am on this kind of generally trajectory where I'm getting a bit more energy back. But equally, I might look back in a year and a half and think I'm still the same as I was, but I'm even better at managing it. Either way, it's a journey, and it's a journey that I'm on, and a journey that I think I'm actually kind of embracing rather than living a life of regret. I hope that all makes sense. I just wanted to share that with you today. Thank you as always to people who subscribed, who listen, and a reminder that if you want regular writings, I usually write an article a week, I usually record an episode a week. The only way to get that reliably is to subscribe on www.lifeoflongcovid.co.uk, and there you can sign up to receive a notification in your email inbox every time I record or publish some writing. And as I say always, because it'd be negligent of me not to, you can choose to donate and take out a subscription and pay to receive these things. It's only a small amount, it's like £4 a month, and that really helps with the running of the podcast and all the expenses that are incurred with it. But if you can't afford it, or that's not the kind of thing you do, just subscribe for free. You don't get anything less as a non-subscriber. It's just the paid part. It's just a way of supporting the work that I do if you can. So don't let it put you off subscribing. Don't let it put you off listening and writing and engaging, and let me know how you are, because I really, really appreciate all of you. So whatever your week looks like this week in that run up to Christmas, I hope that you will find pockets of rest. I hope that you will just have a moment of clarity where you can pick out those tiny, tiny wins that nobody else would understand. The kind of wins that say, I managed to get up and have a shower this morning. I managed to read something in bed. I managed to watch something without falling asleep. However small that win feels, I hope this week you can celebrate something and realise that normal is a relative thing. This is our normal now, and we've got each other, and you are never alone. See you again soon.